Fultz, who was just, dunked on, just did his... They talked a little bit about...
Did you see the picture of him?
Yeah, that's old.
Mr. Biceps?
That's an old picture?
I mean, it's not that old. It's a few weeks old.
Looks a little beefy.
I guess...
Dude, he's looking thick. 2 seats.
Is Marcus Smart fat? Not fat, but, like, is he too heavy?
A lot of people were saying last year after he, like, stopped Millsap, like, it was kind of a good idea for him to, like, get a little bit bigger so he could be more of, like, a flex power forward if you needed him to.
I don't see Marcus Smart as, like, a true point guard in the NBA. I don't think he needs to, try and get skinny.
But do you think he's too heavy out there?
For a point guard, but he's too light for a big man. I mean, that's his thing. He's like Zaire said, he's Mr. Fix-It. He's a utility player. You plug him in and he can fill a role competently. Except when he's 1 for 9. Although he was only a -1 in the game, which I think was tops on the team. All right, welcome back to another edition of Celtics Roundtable on the Boston Celtics newsfeed. We're going to have a little variety session here talking about Isaiah Thomas, Markelle Fultz, Game 4, Game 5, all that jazz. I'm Matt Ignal, joined by Lucky's Pipe and my brother Jonathan. Actually, our podcast last night that we recorded, we had a technical issue and it was nowhere to be found. So last night we talked about how we thought that this was a game that was more about the Cavs and the Cavs offense just demolishing the Celtics in the second half than it was about the Celtics, who did put up a game effort. If you have one takeaway from this game, Lucky, what would it be?
One takeaway? I mean, I guess probably first would be turnovers, but also the defense in the second half was pretty lackluster. I mean, KYRIE was unconscious for a while, which is hard to defend in any situation, but he was also blowing past guys. The rotations were a little late. When you let a team shoot like 70% in a half, that's not a good sign.
Brad Stevens said that they were a little late rotating to the rim and didn't do a good enough job at that, but tough choices against the Cavs.
LeBron James had 4 first-half fouls and didn't pick one up for the rest of the game. You got to find a way to take it at LeBron, because when the turnovers happen, the offense kind of lost its rhythm. And if LeBron gets that 5th foul, then, the momentum swings, obviously, in the Celtics' favor, and I thought that was a great opportunity for them to capitalize. Also, even if he doesn't block the shot, he's going to be skeptical of a hard contest. So I thought that the Celtics needed to do a better job at exploiting LeBron James, and not just LeBron James. I mean, when Kyrie Irving's shooting and playing the way he did on the other end, you need to make him, he dies on screen. You got to put him in a pick and roll, and you got to make him work on defense, because, that gave him an opportunity to rest for his offensive explosions on the other end.
Right, and he was hurt too. Yeah, maybe they could have exploited that more. They had Kelly Olynyk basically had a layup on LeBron, and he blew it.
And Matt, I know we went back and forth about it last night, but Brad's seen a large enough sample size of Mr. Zeller.
Yeah,
he does not need any more playoff minutes.
Yeah, probably not. The thing about LeBron, and I saw them, they were trying to attack Korver a lot too, but the blessing and the curse of the Marcus Smart-led offense is the fact that they really can't single out people and attack them. It's kind of more about passing the ball until you find somebody open. I think that's where they struggle. They couldn't really just give it to Isaiah and let him just roll against LeBron on a switch or something.
The Cavs defense turned up really midway through the second quarter. We know there was that key stretch where LeBron went out with 4 fouls and Kyrie started hitting everything, and maybe that energized their defense. Maybe they finally figured the Celtics offense out, which it seems like it caught Ty Lue and company by surprise. But Kyle Korver's defense, I thought, was surprisingly really, really good. And maybe that was the Celtics offense, just not having the talent to get good looks. But he was really good on defense. Kevin Love, as a rim protector, was also really good. So, but hats off to the Cavs. They upped their defense. Kyrie had one of his best games of his career. I think that was a playoff career high for him. 42 points, 21 points in the third on 9 of 10 shooting. So Celtics down to one more loss, and then they're out. Maybe they'll win Game 5. We'll see about that. But let's hit some news here. First up, Isaiah Thomas still weighing his options at this point, at the time of this recording, regarding what to do about his a torn labrum in his hip? Do I have that right? So he's collecting information right now regarding his injury, and according to Brad Stevens, they're going to seek out more opinions, and it's just kind of weird what sort of effect this is going to have on the Celtics here, because if he has surgery, I've been seeing that he could be out anywhere from like 6 to 9 months. 6 months from now is November, around the start of the season, actually, well after it. And then 9 months, I mean, that takes you all the way into February. So there's kind of a lot at stake here.
Yeah, and hearing Simmons' last pod, he was saying like other players that had similar hip injuries, and like I think he said Johnny Flynn, like he played almost half a season or a season on it, and that kind of like ruined his career. So it's not something you really want to mess with.
Exactly. It's huge for Isaiah. He wants that big contract, and already fans are starting to jump ship, saying it would be unwise to give the max to Isaiah, especially with maybe Fultz coming in. Lucky, you're right. I mean, this has the potential to make that decision that much easier, but you got to feel for the little guy, because with the season he had and everything that's happened to him in the postseason on and off the court, it just sucks to see the guy
Jonathan,
have
why
missed
are there
time.
so many planes like coming in like right now?
All right, you've been to my house. You realize that South Boston is separated by water to the airport. Planes land right over my head. You're the only one who notices. But
Lucky, like you've been on.
How many
podcasts? I can hear it.
It's been
how
a
many
lot.
podcasts?
I didn't hear it on like prior pods, but anyway, let's get back to this, because this is a perfect segue to talking a little bit about Markelle Fultz. Dunked did a nice breakdown of him today. I was getting worried since they were trashing Jason Tatum, trashing Josh Jackson. They kind of like Jonathan Isaac, but didn't love him. But they did heap lots of praise on Markelle Fultz, saying that he looked like a number one pick. Then they proceeded to nitpick at his game, and there is a fairly large nit to pick with regard to his defense. And this ties with an Isaiah, because if Isaiah misses the early part of next year, I would think that Markelle Fultz would probably be the most likely guy to start in that scenario, but I'm not sure that's really in the best interest of the Celtics. They said it on Dunked On that the best thing for him, given his terrible defensive tendencies, you might want to have the Jaylen Brown treatment with him, saying, hey, before anything, you got to guard your guy. You got to get up to be an adequate defender, or else you're not going to play. And that might be the best thing for Markelle Fultz, and that's something the Celtics can offer him that other teams can't. But that all changes if Isaiah Thomas is out, unless they want to go with Smart to start.
Yeah, I think they would go Smart.
Yeah, I too think they would go Smart. I mean, that's what Brad does. We saw it with Jaylen. If you can't play defense, you're not going to see the court. I mean, I'm actually not that worried about Fultz's defense. I mean, it's just when you're in a losing environment with not great teammates, it's really tough to every possession play on defense. So I think in the right environment, surrounded by Marcus Smart.
How about any possession?
Yeah, I think Stevens has shown a really consistent ability to develop people by letting them show that they can defend somebody before they put him on courts for minutes. That's why Smart was like a rare case of starting so early, because from the jump he was pretty much on par with any defender in the NBA. I think Fultz would have to prove it. He hasn't proved it, but at the same time, I'm optimistic that he has all of the physical attributes to be an average defender. Like, he has more physical attributes than Harden, even though he shows the same propensity to not care to play defense, but he's got like a 6'10" wingspan and those big beefy arms. So I think he'll be able to figure it out.
His whole career trajectory changes if he's an adequate defender versus, a Damian Lillard or Kyrie Irving, or dare I say it, Isaiah Thomas level defender in the backcourt. I mean, the sky is truly the limit if he can really defend. We know he's extremely talented offensively. We know his feel is amazing. And he's got, great body control and great footwork and all the dribble moves, and he can pass, and he can probably shoot it pretty well. But can he defend? That's half the game.
I think if they just carry that over to Fultz, you're going to be creating like a perennial all-star.
He might be that anyway. He might be just that good.
That's true.
As I watch more and more footage of him, I like him even more and more. Although it's easier to like him when you're watching like highlights of him than when you're slogging through a horrible UW game. I hate watch them, and I felt the same way watching Dennis Smith at NC State. But Mark,
now why is it
less talent? Go ahead.
Why is it that I feel like there's a double standard with Dennis Smith Jr. and Markelle Fultz, and even Ben Simmons a little bit. It seems like Fultz kind of is above the criticism from people. Like, why is Dennis Smith regarded so low and Markelle Fultz hasn't really been affected?
Okay, I have the answer to this. Ben Simmons consistently displayed poor body language, and it oftentimes affected his play. There were definitely some flags surrounding his mentality at that time. Exact same thing with Dennis Smith Jr., getting up in people's faces pretty frequently. I mean, his effort might have been even worse than Markelle's on the defensive end. It's playoff season, and having the right players on the court will be the key to success. That sharp outside shooter or power rebounder or Gordon Hayward can be the difference between winning and losing. But business isn't any different. Your company needs the right people to be the best. So where do you go to find top talent? Well, at ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with just one click. Then their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your position. And right now, listeners to the Boston Celtics newsfeed can start forming their own winning team on ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. Look, geez, John, these plans, this is the first time, and I've heard like a million of them. I don't know if you've changed anything about like your recording.
You know what? I just realized what it was.
Your window's open?
In the winter, I have my windows closed. Actually, I sleep in an ice box. I keep them open.
I thought of that. I thought it was just like too obvious.
I always have trouble gauging Jay Crowder's value. I mean, I know the contract is the best part. What do you think Jay Crowder can fetch you?
Well, if Tibbs is interested in Rose, then I would imagine he'd be pretty over the moon about Jay Crowder.
He'd provide more value probably than most of these draft picks would over the remaining 3 years of his contract at about the same price. He'll be a little bit more expensive.
So you could see Minnesota giving the 2017 7th overall pick maybe for Jay Crowder. Is that a possibility?
It just seems too rich because still at 7 you could draft a guy who could be a star, and that potential is certainly very interesting. But if a team were to do something like that, I don't know if the Celtics might have to package a future pick or two along with it. It's something worth exploring, I would say. Although Jay Crowder's contract is great, if you could get another rookie who could fill his role, cough, Jonathan Isaac, I think that's something that the Celtics should really look at, worth exploring. The only downside is that Isaac won't be as good as Jay Crowder right away, and the Celtics are an Eastern Conference Finals team. And that's just going to make it really difficult making all these decisions because the Celtics are really good right now, and really good teams don't willingly take steps back very often. I mean, we're going to talk about this more in the offseason, but the Celtics, because they got this number 1 pick, they're going to have to trade away someone who is either really good right now or genuinely promising. And that's going to be a really tough pill to swallow for the Celtics, but we'll have you covered in there. Before we sign off here, Game 5, do the Celtics have a chance here?
I see it closing out in 5. I don't see LeBron having 3 bad performances in a row. I know he had a lot of stats in Game 4, but no, I see the Cavs winning the game, even if the Celtics play really hard. I mean, they got maximum effort in Game 3, and it just wasn't enough. Cavs win.
I feel like the second half effort wasn't there, though. I mean, the Cavs turned up the defense a little bit more, but at the same time, there was a lot of unforced errors, specifically from Jay Crowder, that really turned the game around and put them from 10 points up to 5 points down, and then from that point, they really couldn't hang. I think they can pull it out, and if you get one person from the bench or 2 people from the bench that are just feeling it, if Jalen, goes 2 of 5 or 3 of 5 from 3.
He's questionable, by the way. That's something we should report.
It is questionable.
That's great.
Another hip.
Game 5, closeout game for the Cavs, or chance for the Celtics to seal another one. That's going to be on at 8:30 on TNT. We'll be here for the post game, so stay tuned for that. So for Lucky's Pipe and my brother Jonathan, I'm Matt Ignal. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to the Boston Celtics newsfeed on your favorite podcast app. Give us a follow on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable and a 5-star review on iTunes. That really helps us out. We'll be back to review Game 5. We'll see you then.